All right. So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our session. Tonight, we're gonna talk about reversal patterns. No, so again, this is linked with the first session that we had. No, looking for trade levels. Kasi po, pag umabot naman yung market doon sa trade levels natin, we don't immediately enter the market. No, unless you want to take a huge risk with that. So it would be better if we would actually wait for some confirmation before entering the market. And that would normally come in a form of several types of patterns. So today we're going to talk about reversal patterns, and generally there's two types of categories that we're going to tackle. Number one are more on candlestick reversal patterns, and number two is more on structure-based reversal patterns. Now both of them work very well, and it's really up to you which one you want to use. Some people try to combine them together. It also works if you do that. So at least we try to understand both ends of the spectrum first before we're able to use them individually or together. All right, so let's check this out. No? All right, so let's start with the candlestick reversal patterns first. No? So with candlestick reversal patterns, there's actually a ton of them out there. No? So pag ginugol nyo, just type in candlestick patterns, reversal patterns, ang daming lalabas dyan. There's a ton of them that's going to be out there. There are hundreds of types of candlestick patterns out there. Ang dami talaga doon. But we're not going to be able to tackle all of them. So we're going to discuss the ones that are very frequent in the market and personally na ginagamit ko din. So before we get there, let's have a little bit of review doon sa candlestick anatomy natin kasi importanteng maintindihan natin yung concept behind candlestick patterns. No? Bakit ba sinasabi ng pattern na to na pwedeng mag-reverse yung market? We have to understand the logic behind it, the mechanism behind that. And we will only get that if we understand how our candlesticks move. So, remember that just a little bit of recap, dapat alam na natin nito, no? But if you don't know it yet, meron tayong intro series that you can always attend. It's free. Okay? So ito po yung natin, no? Yung ating candlestick anatomy. There's two types of candlesticks. You have a bullish candlestick on the right, and then you have a bearish candlestick on the on the right, no? Left is bullish, right is bearish. So, mapapansin nyo, yung candlesticks natin, you have generally two areas. You have your body, which is the rectangular part, and then you have your shadows or wicks, which are the pointy areas that you find on the top or on the bottom side of your candlesticks. Okay. Now, your body represents the opening and the closing price. Ibig sabihin po, let me just get my pen so that I can write it down. Yan. So, dito sa bullish candlestick, itong opening price, this is where price started. No? So, let's say that this candlestick represents D1 charts. No? So, ibig sabihin isang araw siya. So, the opening price is here. This is where price started. And then the closing price is here. This means that from the time it started to the time that it ended, dito po nagsara yung candlestick. Diyan siya natapos. No? Now, the low and the high, yun yung lowest and the highest points that price reached during that time frame. No? So if this is one whole day, ito yung pinakamababang inabot at yun yung pinakamataas na inabot. No? Hindi naman kasi ibig sabihin from the time it started, umakyat siya diretso sa closing price, tas tumigil dyan. No? That doesn't happen very often. So meron ka dito nung low at saka meron ka dito nung high price. And that's the lowest and the highest points. So just by looking at this candlestick alone, we would generally have an idea on how price moved. No? Kasi kung dito yung opening price, alam natin dyan siya nag-start. And at one point in time, bumaba siya dyan and then created your low, went to the high up there, no, created our high, and then went down and closed the market there. No? Hindi naman saktong ganyan yung paggalaw niya, pero generally, yan yung pace ng galaw niya. No? Nag-start dito, bumaba dito, umakyat dyan, tapos nagsara dyan. Okay. So that's the general movement of your candlestick based on that. Now, looking at your bearish candlestick is the same scenario, baliktad lang yung open and close. No? So price opened here, went up there, bumaba dito, umakyat ulit, and then closed there. No? So most likely, ganyan yung galaw ng market. Could be different, no? Pwede naman bumaba muna, no? A lot of consolidation in between. Pwedeng mangyari yun. Pero same thing, yan pa rin yung high-low, open and close natin. So maisip natin, okay, so based on that anatomy of a candlestick, so what? Okay, I know the parts. Now, how do I really apply that? Well, remember that every candlestick actually tells you a story if there's a lot of buyers or if there's a lot of sellers in the market. Kung malakas ba ang bullish pressure or bearish pressure ngayon sa market, no? Makikita natin yun sa candlesticks. Paano? Let's have an example of a candlestick. No? Sabihin natin that price, ganito yung itsura ng candlestick natin. No? Yan. Okay, so this is a bullish candlestick. This is your opening price. This is your closing price. Your closing price is the same as your high, and this is your low. No? So this candlestick over here tells us that there's a lot of buying pressure. Paano naman natin nalaman yun? No? Well, imagine how price moved during that time frame. Alam natin na nag-start yung price dito. That's the opening price. And it went all the way down to our low. Oh, alam natin nangyari yan. So at one point in time, ganyan po yung itsura ng candlestick. It was very bearish. Pero pagdating po dito sa low, suddenly there was a strong bullish pressure. Kaya ang nangyari, shadow na lang or wick na lang po yung natira. And it even pushed higher than your opening price. So kung maiisip natin, sino kaya lamang sa market ngayon? Kaya nabagsak na bagsak yung presyo, biglang lumipad, binawi. So sino kaya yung lamang? Probably the buyers. And because of that, the market may continue to go upwards from there. Okay? So nakita niyo yung logic na yun, no? So that's the mechanism behind why we can say, candlesticks can be bullish, they can be bearish, or they can be neutral. All right? So now with that in mind, we now move forward to our candlestick patterns. I'm going to show you a couple of patterns that we can use together with your trade levels. Now, again, before you use these patterns, it has to coincide with a trade level. Ibig sabihin, kailangan makita mo yan sa loob ng support, makita mo yan sa resistance, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of ways to look for trade entries or rather trade levels in the market. We learned that last session. No? So, kailangan kasabay ito ng trade levels. Hindi siya pwedeng stand alone. Hindi ibig sabihin nakakita ka ng bullish na candlestick, automatic babay ka. Okay? This can only be used together with trade levels and it can be used as a confirmation. All right, so going back to our candlestick patterns, ito po yung one of the most common candlestick patterns, least reliable to be honest, but one of the most common candlestick patterns that you would see out there. Now, these are called pin bars. And yung pin bars na to, I'm just generalizing this type of pattern, no? Kasi if you research it, there's, a couple of versions of it. Meron tinatawag dyan shooting star, may tinatawag na hammer, may tinatawag na inverted hammer, no, et cetera, et cetera. There's a lot of ways, or hanging man, parang ganun. There's a lot of ways to, it has a lot of names, no? But for me, iisa lang din naman ang sinasabi niyan lahat, no, based on what we learned earlier. Now, looking at the left side over here, these are bearish pin bars, no? Ibig sabihin pabagsak yung market. Bakit siya pabagsak? Kasi po, kung titingnan natin, let's take a look at the candlestick on the left side first. This is our opening price here. This is our closing price. This is our high. And this is our low. So, ibig sabihin, dito nag-start yung price. Umakyat siya hanggang dun sa pinakataas. No? So, at one point in time, it was very bullish. However, when it reached your high, suddenly there was a strong bearish pressure. Kaya po, biglang tumulo yung presyo pababa. And it even closed lower than your opening price. So, ibig sabihin yan, ang lamang sa market ngayon, yung sellers. Kaya pwedeng tumuloy pa yung market pababa. Now, looking at the other candlestick over here, maisip natin, sir, paano mo naman nasabi na bullish yung pin bar na yan? No? Kasi puti yung body niya eh. Diba? Isn't that by definition a bullish candlestick? Yes, by definition, it's a bullish candlestick. But think about how price moved during that candlestick. No? Sino kaya pa rin yung lamang dyan sa kandilang yan? So let's try to think about how price moved. This is our opening price here. Okay, this is our opening price right here. And then, at one point in time, umakyat yung price all the way up there. So, it was still very bullish. Pero pagdating sa tuktok, suddenly there was a strong bearish pressure. The market went down. Okay. So, babang-baba siya hanggang dito sa may pinakababa. No? That's where we have our low. Pero bumalik ulit yung market, umakyat, at dito siya nagsara. This is your closing price. So even though your price closed higher than your opening price, the momentum is still bearish. Pabagsak pa rin. Alright? So that's why I categorize these two as bearish candlestick patterns. Okay. Now, looking at the other side of things, no, same logic. These are bullish pin bars. Baliktarin nyo lang. No? Same logic as before. All right. So these are very common on your charts, and normally you would find these on the swings in the market, yung mga malalaking reversals. These are very, very common. You'll see a lot of them. Okay. So here's some canned examples of that. This is the USD CAD. And as you can see on the H1 chart, we have a bearish pin bar over here. It's not as perfect as we want it to be, but you know, the market rarely gives you perfect scenarios to trade with anyway. So ayan, this is a very strong pin bar. And at that point in time, this was actually on a trade level, no? So sakto yan sa resistance. And from there, the market did go down. Okay? Dito naman sa may baba, meron ka ding trade level dito na support. And as you can see, you have a very nice pin bar over here. And from there, the market went up. Okay. Now, some people might like to, you know, question or argue, sir, hindi ba to doji? No? Well, for me, same logic applies. Kung mahaba yung buntot sa ilalim, no, ibig sabihin yan bearish na bearish yung candlestick nung time na yon, no, at one point in time. Pero biglang lumipad yung presyo and went back almost to your opening price. So even though technically, you know, this is a doji or whatever, some people might argue it's neutral, it's not. Kasi bagsak na bagsak yung presyo kanina, binawi niya, lumipad yung presyo. That still tells us that the market might be bullish. Okay? Neutral yan kapag sa gitna nagsara. All right? So that's my take on that. Okay. Any questions on pin bars? We're gonna check out a couple more candlestick patterns bago tayo pumunta sa live charts now, so that we have, you know, a couple of examples all at the same time. All right. So wala namang questions. Let's move forward. Okay. The next pattern is not as common as pin bars, but I believe these are better patterns to trade with. Okay, I have a question here before we move forward. Does it work by itself? It works with trade levels. So, kailangan nasa support or kailangan nasa resistance siya. Okay. Kailangan nasa support, nasa resistance. If it's in the middle of kumbaga parang nasa gitna siya ng wala, no? It's not in a support, it's not a resistance, it won't work by itself. So, be wary of that. Kasi marami kayong makikita mga pin bars sa gitna, pero wala namang significant trade level. Pag ganun, just you know, don't trade that. All right. Okay, thank you for that question. I think that clears up you know, a lot of confusion. All right, so these are engulfing candles, no? And as the, you know, name goes, engulfing, ibig sabihin parang kinakain nung isang kandila yung previous candle, no? So it's a two candlestick pattern wherein you have your first candlestick, no? Unahin mo natin nasa left side. This is a bearish engulfing candlestick pattern. Now, you have a bullish candlestick on your first one. So ito po, this is a bullish candlestick. And then after that, it is followed by a big bearish candlestick, no? And if you notice, yung rules natin for a pin bar, if you check the books, no, you check other sources, ang dami nilang rules, no, with engulfing bars, no? But for us, let's just understand the mechanism behind it, no? Let's not be too you know, stiff with these things. Let's understand what the candlesticks are really telling us now. So our definition of an engulfing bar, no, or engulfing candlestick would be yung first candlestick natin from its high to its low is within the high and low of your second candlestick. Let me repeat. Yung first candlestick natin, no, from its high to its low, it should be within your second candlestick's high and low. Ibig sabihin, para siyang kinakain nung pangalawang candlestick. This tells us na parang medyo na-eradicate niya yung lahat ng bullish pressure, kinain niya, and the market may continue to go down from there. Okay? So that's the idea behind it, no? In-erase niya lahat ng bullish movement, no, on the second candlestick, and the market might go down from there. Now, looking at the bullish engulfing candlestick, same scenario, baliktarin mo lang, you have a very bearish candlestick over here. Its low and its high are within the low and high of the second candlestick. And from there, dapat syempre yung pangalawang candlestick mo, it should be a bullish candlestick. And from there, it would be a bullish engulfing candlestick, no? So tandaan natin na yung pangalawang candlestick, it has to be bullish or it has to be a bearish candlestick. Hindi pwedeng neutral yung candlestick. Kasi kapag neutral yung candlestick, for example, you have a bullish bar over here, no? Meron kang bullish bar. Tapos yung pangalawang candlestick mo neutral lang. Pag ganyan, hindi yan engulfing candle, no? It has to be bullish or it has to be bearish. Okay? Let's again go back to the concept of the candlestick, no? Bakit ba natin nasabing bullish yan? Bakit ba natin nasabing bearish yan? Kasi kanina, ang taas ng presyo, on the second candlestick, it went a little higher than before, tapos eradicated all the buyers and the market went down from there. Okay? All right. So, the more dominant the engulfing candle, the stronger the signal. No? So, ibig sabihin, kapag talagang kinakain nung second candlestick, yung first candlestick, that would be more significant kasi medyo saktuhan lang silang dalawa. No? Let's say, konting-konti lang yung difference nung high and low nung pangalawa. That's not, as strong as these types of signals. All right? Okay, I have a question over here. Is it much better to interpret the candlestick pattern in a higher time frame than a lower time frame? All right. So there's a couple of ideas, no, with that. No? Number one, with technical analysis, it is always more reliable to trade on higher time frames. Ibig sabihin, pag nakakita ka ng trade level sa higher time frames, mas matitibay yun kaysa lower time frames. Now, same goes for your patterns. No? If you see candlestick patterns on higher time frames, they would be more reliable than the ones you find on lower time frames. However, it is also okay to look for patterns on lower time frames. If your price is inside a trade level on a higher time frame. Let me repeat that. I know that sounds confusing. It's okay to look for reversal patterns, candlestick reversal patterns on lower time frames if the market is already within a trade level on a higher time frame. To give an example of that, let's say that the market is already at the support on your D1 charts. Ibig sabihin, nasa support na siya, gusto mo nang bumili. You can now shift down to a lower time frame, maybe H4 or H1, and then you can look for bullish candlestick patterns there. Kasi nandun na siya sa trade level on a higher time frame. All right? So that's called top-down analysis. And I suggest you do that. Okay? So yun po siya. Hopefully, I was able to answer that very well. Sabihin nyo lang if you need a little bit more clarification on that. Thank you for that question. Importante yung yung top-down analysis kasi kapag kinumbine na natin yung first session and itong session na to, kailangan nagagamit yun ng maayos yung top-down. All right. So here are some canned examples of your engulfing candles. No? So kung mapapansin nyo po dito, over here the market goes up, no? And this actually falls within a support, as on a resistance. And from there, nakakita ka na nga ng mga konting reversal patterns. So meron ka ng pin bar dyan. And then after that, you have a bearish candlestick over here, no? And then on your second candlestick, kinain niya pa yung una mo, no? Even though mas okay pa nga kung ano to no? Kung let's say kung bullish candlestick yan or bearish, regardless, kinain pa rin siya nung pangalawang candlestick mo. That's very bearish. And from there, the market did continue to go down. All right. All right. So tingin muna tayo sa charts, no? Let's take a look at some examples of these patterns that we had so that it sticks. Yeah. Okay. So ito po yung natin, no? These are our charts over here. And as you can see, you have a couple of examples here. So ito, H4 chart, no? Tapos, let's go with the recent swings in the market, no? So let's say that this is a trade level right here, a very, very clear trade level. Nakita nyo, this is a resistance, and the current support that we have right now should be at this area. Andito naman sa baba ang ating support, no? All right. So, looking at our current supports and resistances, dito sa may resistance natin, na-identify na natin yung trade level na to nung June pa, no? Mid-June, this trade level was already out, and June 15, no? This trade level was already out, and around June 23, tinamaan yung trade level natin. So when the price was already inside our trade level, let's try to go with top-down analysis, no? Tingin tayo kung may mga makita tayong familiar patterns, no? Let's go down to the H1 chart. Again, this is around June 23 nangyari. So, baba tayo sa June 23. Ayan. Alright. So, looking at your candlestick patterns during that time, you can see clearly that this is a very nice looking pin bar. Diba? That's a very nice looking pin bar, and you could have already traded that, no? Now, this particular pattern is also called an evening star. Mamaya pag-uusapan natin, no? It's not a perfect evening star, but later I'll explain the logic behind that. Okay, so you could have taken this pattern, could have gone with a sell trade, and from there, medyo malaki nga yung binaba niya, no? Now, as of now, hindi pa niya tinatamaan yung current support natin, and we'll see, no? Medyo nag-range pa yung market, wala pa siya masyadong pinupuntahan. Okay. Now, let's take a look at a couple more examples. Tingin tayo ng mga medyo malalaking reversal sa market. Alright, let's go down to the H4 chart. So, over here, may mga magaganda tayong konting examples. This one is a nice looking bearish engulfing candle. So, medyo malinis yan tignan. The market did go down from there. This one over here is a bullish. Actually, hindi. This is not a bullish engulfing candle since the candle ended up as neutral. Okay, so we couldn't have known that the market would actually continue to go up from there. All right, let's check out let's backtrack a little bit more. Tingnan natin kung may mga examples pa tayo. All right, so far, this one is a pretty okay example. Ayan, so kung makita nyo po dito, this one is a good example of a bullish engulfing candle. And from there, umakyat nga naman yung ating price. All right? So that kind of falls together with your, and on a daily chart, makikita mo this would be your support. Okay. Yeah, this would be your support, and dito makikita nyo din, meron ka ding bullish engulfing candle, no? Over here. Nung pagtama niya ng support, from there the market went up, no? Medyo nag-range ng konti, and then eventually umakyat siya. All right. So yun po yung ating examples, no, of pin bars at saka bullish engulfing candles. Again, don't trade them in the middle of nowhere. They have to go together with a trade level. Okay, so balik tayo sa sa slides natin. Now, the next candlestick pattern that I'd like to show you are called morning star and evening star. No? So, if you check the textbook definition of it, no, ito yung magiging itsura ng morning star pattern at saka ng evening star pattern. It's a 3 candlestick pattern wherein meron kang initial burst of movement, and then in the middle of that, magsustall yung market. Kumbaga mag-range siya, wala siyang pupuntahan. And then after that, magkakaroon ka ulit ng secondary burst of movement, turning back doon sa initial. Kumbaga, kinokontra niya yung initial burst of movement mo. No? So, if we take a look at your morning star pattern over here, it is exactly what we mentioned earlier. You have a very strong impulse move here. Kumbaga, bumagsak yung market dyan. Now, on your after that, nag-stall yung market for a while. Ibig sabihin, wala siyang pinuntahan. You'll have a neutral candlestick, very small candlesticks there. And then after that, magkakaroon ka ng burst ulit of movement going back. So, kumbaga, binabawi niya yung nangyari doon sa first burst of movement. Now, for your evening star, same logic, no? Baliktad lang. You have a bullish candlestick over here. The market stays at the top for a while, and then after a while, magkakaroon ka ng burst of movement naman pababa. Okay? Now, textbook will tell you that this is a 3 candlestick pattern, but personally, it can actually be a multiple candlestick pattern. Yung consolidation natin sa gitna, okay lang yan kahit umabot hanggang 3 candlestick. It's fine. No? Minsan nga umabot ng 4, 5, pero hindi na ganun ka-reliable kasi kapag nasa 4 or 5 na eh. Okay? But normally, 1 to 3 candlesticks are okay. pwede na yun, no? It doesn't have to be a single candlestick. Now, there's a lot of patterns na isa lang yung candlestick, but it doesn't have to be that way. Alright? So, ang kailangan po dito sa pattern na to, what should happen is that you have a strong movement first. So, tingnan muna natin itong morning star pattern. You have a very strong movement going downwards. And then after that, the market stalls dun sa may baba. No? So, kumbaga wala nangyayari. It consolidates there. Now, the most important part is kapag bumalik na yung market. Kapag bumalik yung market dito, the closing price of that candlestick should be beyond 50% of the first candlestick's body. Ulitin ko yung candlestick na dulo, yung bumabawi na candlestick, it should close, yung closing price ang kailangan tingnan it should close above 50% of the first candlestick's body. Kailangan 50% po. Okay? It should close above 50% of the candlestick's body. Body lang hindi po yung buong candlestick, just the body. Alright? Malinaw? Yun yung rules natin for that. Bakit? No? Why are we doing that? Because that is sufficient enough to tell us that there is already movement to the other side. Kung titingnan naman natin si Evening Star, ganun din yung idea. The market bursts upwards. It stays at the top for a while. It could be 1, 2, or 3 candlesticks. And then, kapag bumagsak na yung market, it has to close below 50% of the first candlestick's body. And dito naman, true enough, it did close there. So that tells us that this is a bearish pattern. Okay? Malinaw? Okay, I have a question, Irving. Mangyari po ba yung morning star kulay red? Pwede. Yung for example, itong maliit na candlestick na yan, pwedeng red, pwedeng doji. Pero ang importante po, wala masyadong pinuntahan yung candlestick. It should be a very small candlestick. Okay? So thank you for that question. Yes, no, that can happen. So I think it's best if we take a look at our charts and see a couple of examples with that. Sorry, ito pala. We have some canned examples over here. And as you can see, this one is an evening star on the left side. No? To make it easy for you, ang evening star nasa taas, yung morning star nasa ilalim. Di ba? Pag gabi nasa taas yung stars. Kapag umaga na, medyo nasa baba na sila. Okay? Alright, so what you have over here is... sorry, natawala ako dun sa comment ko na yun. Let's not talk about astrophysics concept kasi yung stars nasa taas naman talaga lagi. But, you get my point. Anyway, so, dito po, you have an initial burst of movement dito sa taas. And then the market stays up there for a while. So, mayroon kang mga 2 candlesticks that actually stays up there. Medyo neutral sila. Doesn't really matter. Kung white or black, bullish or bearish candlesticks sila. Now, on the next candlestick, you notice that it already gave us a very strong movement downwards. And together with that, kung makikita mo, this is also a bearish engulfing candle. Okay. Now, the problem is, it did not close below 50% of the first candlestick's body. So, ibig sabihin, it's not yet time to sell. Hindi pa. But on the next candlestick, makikita nyo dito, it already closed below half or 50% of the first candlestick's body, and that tells us that the market may continue to go down from there. Saka lang siya naging legitimate na sell signal. On the other side of things, makikita natin this is a very strong movement downwards, and then after a while the market doesn't really go anywhere for a while, and then eventually umakyat yung price and then closes above the middle point of the first candlestick's body. Kahit hindi siya ganong kagandang signal, technically that is still a buy signal, pwede pa rin. And from there, the market does go up. Alright? Ayun. Okay, natawa. Natawa din ako sa sinabi ko kanina dun sa yung stars eh. Okay. Anyway, grade school science teacher, baka magalit sa akin. Anyway, so going back. So malinaw, no? Is this clear before we check out our examples sa sa charts. Okay, tingnan mo tayo sa mga examples. All right, so you actually have a couple of examples over here, and it's quite significant on a lot of good levels that we have. So dito po makikita natin na this is a very clear evening star, di ba? Malinaw na malinaw. This is also a somewhat okay evening star. No, not pretty, but it's still technically an evening star. This one is a very clear morning star, very nice to look at. No? Ayan. So makikita niyo po, no, we actually have a lot of these in the market. No? Ayan, this is a relatively okay evening star. Ayan, no, makikita niyo po natin. Ay, hindi pala kasi hindi siya nag-close below half. So, wala yan. No? All right, let's take a look at the reversals that we find in the market. Ayan, dito po, no? You actually have a couple of examples over here. Meron ka ditong it's kind of okay, no? You have a little bit of an a morning star here. It's not bad, no? Ito, this is a very nice looking evening star. All right. So nakita nyo, you actually have a lot of these in the market. Ito, this is a very nice looking evening star as well. Tuloy-tuloy siya po ba? Okay. So yun po yung mga examples natin of morning star, evening star. You will find a lot of these sa charts natin. Now, there will be a lot of times that multiple candlestick patterns in one scenario yung makikita natin. You'll see a pin bar, you'll see an engulfing candlestick, tapos makakita ka din ng ng evening star or morning star all at the same time. That happens a lot in the market, no? Ibig sabihin ba nun, sir, mas may confluence tayo sa market? Yeah, no? Having more patterns at the same area might actually tell you the same thing, no? Kumbaga, talagang bullish or talagang bearish. All right? But again, only take these patterns together with your trade levels. Okay. All right, so let's move forward. Kaya pa? Okay pa tayo? Okay, now moving forward, ito naman yung multiple candlestick patterns. Ito yung medyo maramihan kasi kanina medyo konti yung mga candlestick patterns natin. So these ones are yung medyo, I would say, would take like 10 candlesticks or even more just to form them. No? So meron po tayo dito double bottom, double top, and then yung head and shoulders natin. No? So unahin muna natin yung double bottom and double top. The idea behind it is very simple. The market, dito muna tayo sa double bottom na. The market comes crashing down, bagsak na bagsak. After a while, it consolidates in the middle. No? Aakit siya ng konti, tapos bababa ulit. Okay? Whenever it does that, ibig sabihin nun, itong part na to, this is actually a consolidation time, no, sa market. Now, if the market suddenly reverses and then breaks yung neckline, what's the neckline? The neckline is actually yung recent swing na ginawa during that consolidation. Di ba? Bumaba yung market, umakit siya ng konti, bumaba ulit. That recent high that it made, no, for a double bottom, that would be your neckline. If the market breaks past your neckline, that would actually be your signal to buy already. Okay? Now, on the other side of things, yung double top, ganun din. No? The market goes up here, down, up again, down, and then breaks your neckline. The market could continue to go down from there. Now, looking at that type of pattern, there's actually a couple of areas for us to enter. The classic way to enter is upon breaking the neckline. No? Okay yan. No? That's a pretty good time to enter the market. No? If you want to be a little bit more aggressive, but syempre, if you're more aggressive, that also leaves you open to more risk in the market. Minsan, pwede mong abangan dito sa pangalawang bottom. No? Kasi nagkaroon na ng initial bottom yung market. Pag bumagsak ulit yung market, abangan natin dito sa pangalawang bottom. Okay? Yung pangalawang bottom na yan, hanap ka ng mga candlestick patterns that we've learned earlier. Take a look at, pin bars, engulfing candles, evening star, morning star, etc., etc. Diyan sa second top na yan, and then you take the trade. No? Kung double bottom yan, saka ka bibili pa akyat. No? That's risky. Kasi hindi pa tayo confirm talaga eh. No? But you can do that. Okay? But for starters, I suggest you wait for the neckline to be broken. Okay. Now, one of the risks of being aggressive is that if you look for entries over here, most of the time tinatagusan niya yung first level mo. So kumbaga, ito yung pinakadulo ng first level. Minsan bababa pa ng konti yung market dyan and then goes up. No? Bakit? Kasi lahat ng stop loss ng tao nandyan eh. Tatamaan yung mga stop loss sa akin siya. Okay? So I'm sure you've been on that receiving end, a couple of times already, as I have for a million times already. Anyway, so yan lang yung risk dyan. Now, looking at your double top, same idea. No, the market goes up here, creates a top, goes down, no, consolidates for a while, creates a neckline in the middle of that, goes up again, creates your second top. Your second top, if you're aggressive, pwede ka maghanap ng entries dyan, but I suggest you just wait for the market to break your neckline, and from there, you look for opportunities to sell. All right? Now, there are times na masyadong malalim yung neckline, no? So kung masyadong plunging yung neckline niya, huwag na nating kunin yan. Okay? You just, look for a neckline that is relatively okay, no? Hindi masyadong malalim. Bakit? Kasi po, pag papasukin natin yung trade na, let's say you look for an opportunity to sell over here, most of the time your stop loss will be on the recent top. And, if the neckline is too deep, then masyadong malaki yung risk mo. All right. So, over here, no, you have a couple of options here. This is not a good example of a double top, but still it's a double top nonetheless. No? So, makikita nyo po, this is the first top here. The market comes down. Medyo malalim yung neckline niya. Ito yung pangit dyan. But after a while, the market goes up, no, creates a second top. And over here, makikita nyo po, you also have a couple of patterns here. You have all three. Number 1, pin bar. Number 2, engulfing candle. And number 3, an evening star. Gives you a very nice trade. Malamang nandito yung entry point natin. That's where you look for opportunities to sell. And then the market goes down. Okay? If you wait for the neckline, masyado na siyang malalim. All right. So, ayan. Here's a good example of that. Okay. Ayan. Ito yung medyo aggressive side natin. You can enter at the second top, no? Or you can wait for the neckline break. All right. So, usual stop loss kung medyo aggressive ka, just above the neckline. Pero yung normal stop loss talaga natin dapat nasa taas ng pattern itself, no? To be on the safe side. All right. Let's take a look at head and shoulders muna bago tayo sa double top or double bottom para sabay na natin tignan. No? Any questions with double tops and double bottoms? Okay, wala naman. So, tignan natin ngayon yung ating head and shoulders pattern. No? Your head and shoulders pattern, basically, it is what it says. No? Meron kang head, tas meron kang dalawang shoulders. So, this is a bearish signal over here. And yung logic behind this is that the market goes up, creates a small high there, no? And that's going to be your first shoulder, no? Yung left shoulder natin. After a while, the market goes up there. In the middle of that, it creates a neckline. No? Akyat siya hanggang dun sa may pinakatuktok. No? It goes higher than your initial high. No? And then after a while, it goes down. That creates your head. Tapos, babalik ulit siya dun sa may neckline area. This is not always horizontal. Sometimes this happens at an angle. Okay? So, babalik ulit siya dito sa may neckline area. After a while, the market goes up, creates a right shoulder, and then the market goes down and breaks that neckline. No? So, similar siya doon sa double top and double bottom natin. The difference is there's gonna be 3 tops. No? And hindi sila pantay-pantay. Yung gitna, yan yung pinakamataas, and then meron kang left and right shoulder. Now, keep in mind that this is a perfect looking head and shoulders pattern, and the market will not often give you this type of pattern. Ang madalas na nangyari, hindi pantay yung mga shoulders, hindi pantay yung neckline. No? So you have to be ready for that. Now, the best time to enter this type of pattern is to wait for the neckline to be broken. You can enter after the neckline is broken, or you can patiently wait for a pullback when the market goes back to your neckline and uses it as a resistance going further downwards. No? So yung normal take profit natin or yung normal na inaabot niya is from the head all the way to the neckline. Yan din yung same distance na ipoproject natin kapag nabasag yung neckline. Alright? So that's what you target. Your stop loss should be on the right shoulder. Okay? Dapat a little beyond the right shoulder. All right? So yan po ang ating typical head and shoulders pattern. And looking at the market over here, here's a a good example of that. Makikita po natin na you have your left shoulder over here. You have your head over here. You have your right shoulder over here. See, it's not a perfect scenario. Diba? Hindi pantay yung left and right shoulder natin, pero yung neckline relatively pantay naman. No? Now, when the market broke past that neckline, you could have looked for an entry over there, or you could have patiently waited for the market to get back to your old support, no, which is now a new resistance, and that's also your neckline, and look for an opportunity to sell there. Now, it doesn't have to be horizontal. No? You can actually view it this way as well, no? Para makita nyo din yung variation. Pwede kayong pumasok upon the break of your trend line. No? In trend line breaks, we're going to talk about it in a bit. But to give you, a little bit of an idea with that, whenever you have a trend line there, mapapansin nyo that whenever your trend line breaks, you would often have head and shoulders patterns as well. No? So normal yun, na nangyayari yun sa market madalas. So you can actually enter a trend line break, no? And then madalas ginagamit nila yung right shoulder as the entry point. So that's very aggressive to do, but this is also one way to enter the market, all right? So those are two ways to trade your head and shoulders pattern. There's an aggressive way, which is a trend line break, and there is a, the classic way, which is waiting for the neckline to be broken. All right. So before we go to structure-based reversals, tingnan lang natin yung market. No? Let's see if we have some examples of head and shoulders over here. Ayan. So makita nyo sa Euro-USD, sa Euro-USD over here, you actually have a relatively okay head and shoulders pattern. No, it's not perfect, but it's still a pattern nonetheless. Market goes down here. And head, baba, no? Shoulders. Now, if you notice, hindi masyadong maganda yung pattern na to. Bakit? Kasi yung neckline natin pabagsak eh. Kita nyo? The neckline is actually going down. It would be actually easier if the neckline is horizontal. Okay? Or yung neckline mo pwedeng maging trend line din. Alright? That would be better. Kasi kapag head and shoulders pattern, tas pabagsak yung neckline mo, hindi masyadong maganda yan. Alright? Okay, so you have a head and shoulders pattern over here. Let's check out a couple more. Okay, palitan naman natin yung charts natin. Let's have something else. Do you guys have any charts in mind na gusto nyo tignan? Para hindi nakasawa yung Euro-USD. Let's see if we spot like a couple of patterns. GBP JPY. Okay, GBP JPY. Try natin, no? Alright, so let's check out multiple time frames with this one. On the daily chart, wala tayong masyadong makita, no, for the daily chart. But you do have back in 2000, wait lang, tanggalin ko na to. Ayan. Back in 2019, this was a very nice looking double bottom pattern. Pansin nyo? So you have your first bottom here, you have your second bottom here, you have your neckline in the middle. When the market breaks past that, very classic. This is a bullish pattern from there. Mas mapapansin nyo, binalikan din yung luma mong neckline as a support, then uses it as a launching pad. And the market goes up. Now, if we look at more recent time frames, tingnan natin kung may mga makita tayo. Ayan. All right. So it's not perfect, but you do have some sort of a pattern over here. The market goes up, down, no? Up, down. Kung mapapansin nyo, maganda yung mga neckline natin dito. No? Very nice neckline levels. The market breaks past that. No? That could have been a good sell signal for us. Our stop loss would be here. Remember, yung target natin from the top all the way down to the neckline, yan yung inaasahan natin na igagalaw niya, no? Pag binasag yung neckline. And true enough, that would have been a pretty good target for us. Okay? Another type of entry would have been here. Diba? Ito yung neckline entry. hintayin mo mag-retrace yung market, and then look for an opportunity to sell from there. Okay? So yan po yung mga examples natin of head and shoulders pattern as well as double tops and double bottoms. Okay? Alright, gold. Tapos, sir, yung H4 ng June 9, magandang example. Oh, let's check it out. H4 ng June 9. Ayun pala yun, no? That would be a, thank you for that recommendation. Okay, last gold, no? Naghahanap ng gold. Sige, bago tayo mag-gold, check muna natin yung mga ibang ano natin, structure-based reversals, and let's see if we can find, some reversals on gold. Alright, so yung structure-based reversals natin, it's a different type of reversal, no? Ito naman po, we're not looking at, double tops, double bottoms. We're not looking at head and shoulders. We're not looking at pin bars or anything. But what we're looking at is the core concept of the market reversing, no? So ibig sabihin, there's two ways to take a look at that. Number one is simply looking at the swings in the market. If you guys remember, yung uptrend natin, that is a higher low followed by a higher high. A downtrend is a lower high followed by a lower low. Now, using that concept, you can actually use this as a reversal pattern as well. So kung makikita nyo po dito, no, this is a very simple example. You have here your high, no, low, lower high. Pagbasag nito, that's your lower low. Okay? So the market continues to go down from there. And then, dito po sa baba, creates a low dyan sa baba, no? Pag-create niya po ng low, you have a low there. Market goes up, creates a high. Goes down here, creates a higher low. And pagbasag ng market dito, I colored it yellow, no, that specific area, that would be a higher high. So, ibig sabihin, meron ka ng higher low and the higher high. That means the trend has already changed. So this counts as a legitimate reversal pattern, no? Now, there's a lot of traders who don't like using candlestick patterns and would prefer using these types of reversal. So ibig sabihin, ganun pa rin yung gagawin nila. They wait for the market to enter a support or enter a resistance. Pagpasok doon, kailangan makakita sila ng trend change based on the swings, no? They go down to a lower time frame, they look at the trend there. If the swings tell them that the trend has already changed, that is where they enter. No? So ibig sabihin, upon break nito, this is the actual entry point. Or pwede nilang hintayin umakyat ng konti, wait for a retracement bago sila pumasok sa market. Okay. Alright? So let's take a look at some examples there, no, later on. Dito naman po, you also have the option to check for trend line breaks. So same idea. The market goes up to your support, goes up to your, goes down to your support, goes up to your resistance. And then kung makakita ka ng magandang trend line, you can actually as your reversal signal. No? Kapag nabasag yung trend line mo, just like this one, no, the market is clearly going down. And once it hits your support, may makita kang napakagandang trend line break dyan, that is your opportunity to enter. No? You can enter upon break of that trend line, or you can wait for the market to come back to your trend line and use it as a retracement level, no? For it to continue its reversal. All right? So pwedeng trend line break. Now, normally your trend line breaks, you get in the market a little earlier, but the problem with that is sometimes it's a little bit risky as well, no, kapag trend line breaks. Bakit? Kasi marami pong times na nangyari sa market, mabibreak yung trend line, pero consolidation lang pala. Kumbaga parang mabibreak yung trend line, magsa-sidewards lang siya, tapos i-continue niya yung dating trend. Okay, so that happens in the market, and you should also be ready for that. Alright, so let's check out, ito, wait lang, may example, no? Palagi bang sell ang head and shoulders? Yung kanina example natin would be a sell signal for your head and shoulders. But we also have something called inverted head and shoulders pattern. So same idea, baliktarin mo lang. No? Ang itsura nun ganito. Sige, hanap tayo mamaya sa charts. One, yan, parang ganyan. It's still head and shoulders pero baliktarin mo lang. No? Left, head, right. Trend line. Neckline. Okay. Thank you for that question. I don't think I was able to discuss inverted ones. So Inverted one, same logic. Baliktarin nyo lang yung itsura. Alright. Okay. Coach, anong tawag po ulit? Structural-based reversal. Well, there's no formal term for it because, to be honest, I just kind of named it myself. You can name it whatever you like. Pero para sa akin, I would like to term it a structure-based reversal. Bakit structure? Kasi you're looking at the market structure itself. Okay? You're not looking at patterns. You're not looking at repetitions in the market. You're just simply looking at the structure of the market. But you can call it whatever you like. All right. So thanks for clearing that out. And thank you for the question on head and shoulders pattern as well. Okay. So tignan natin ngayon sa market. No? Let's take a look at some simple trend reversals here. And so tignan naman natin yung gold. And let's see if there's a couple of patterns that we can spot there. Okay. So far gold has been just going upwards forever, and there's not much reversal patterns and supports and resistance out here. But let's say that if we were to join the trend going upwards, okay, meron tayong na-generate dito na support, no? So this was a support that was generated before, no? And as you can see, the market actually came crashing down to that area, and then it continued to go up from there, no? So pagdating dyan, dito tayo ngayon maghahanap ng mga short-term reversals. I'm not sure if we're gonna find some since masyadong mabilis yung movement, no? But we'll see. Tingnan natin, no? Well, we never know. All right. So looking at the malamang sa H1 tayo bababa niyan, no? So this was sometime around March. All right. So tingin tayo sa H1 charts, no? So looking at March, there you go. A very nice looking chart over here. All right. So clearly, the market has been trending downwards from here. Now you have a very nice trend line. Now, not as perfect as we want, but a trend line nonetheless. Yeah. Okay. So I think everybody agrees that this is the trend line. And then from there, the market breaks past your trend line. That would have been your entry point kung aggressive tayo. You can wait for the market to come back down, no? And then look for entries doon sa mismong trend line break natin. Same level niyan. Now, aside from that, you can also check yung short-term reversal pattern niya, no? Kung titingnan natin yung recent highs and lows, tingnan natin kung magagamit natin si zigzag indicator dito, ha, so that we can see the swings in the market. But if not, mamanually natin siya. All right. So over here, you can relatively see our swings, no? So medyo malinaw na malinaw. The market gives you a downtrend over here. After a while, meron kang low, high, higher low, higher high. So same time, nung ating trend line break, nag-shift din yung trend sa swings, no? After a while, it consolidates a little bit. Meron kang lower low, lower high, higher low, and reissues the uptrend over at this point here. So meron tayong multiple entries sa market na to. You have your entry dito with your trend line break as well as your change in trend ng highs and lows natin, and at the same time over here meron ka ding change ng trend. All right? And from there, no, medyo umakyat nga naman talaga yung market. Okay, so I guess that was a pretty good example for both those types of reversals. Okay, so just a couple of final notes. We're taking these reversal patterns, no, not as not as robots, no. Hindi yung tipong sinabihan ka na, okay, kung ganito yung tsura ng candlestick, ganito yung measurement nito, automatically this is a bullish pattern, automatically this is a bearish pattern. Let's not do that, no. Let's understand the mechanics behind why these patterns are reversal patterns, no. And we just explained it throughout the session, and that's the reason why we're also not very strict with the particular rules on these reversal patterns, no. Let's think on a deeper level, no, what the market is really telling us. And there's no need to memorize it all, no? Kasi pag tumingin ka ng mga reversal candlestick patterns, ang dami niyan sa labas, no? And wala namang mas maganda kaysa sa other one. No? All of those patterns, no, are useful on their own, in their own time. So you don't need to memorize all of them. Just master a few and that's okay. Personally, yan lang naman yun yung ginagamit ko for reversal patterns. And I'm already okay with that. Okay? But if you find other reversal patterns that suits you, go ahead. No? But what's important is you get to understand why that is a reversal pattern. Okay? Now, if you can, please look for divergences together with these reversal patterns. That would be more effective. This would give you more confluence on that. No? We discussed divergences doon sa recent indicator series natin. It's also on our website. You guys check it out. Malaking bagay yung mga reversals with your oscillators. Okay. Next, please only trade on trade levels. Hindi, lalo yung mga pin bars, yung mga engulfing candles, hindi sila pwedeng standalone. No? They have to go with the trade level, right? And then lastly, also combine other elements like fundamental analysis, sentiment analysis, or other factors that would add confluence to your trade. No? It would make your trade much better, right? So for example, let's say yung fundamental analysis mo or yung fundamental bias mo sa market is bullish, then try to look for bullish patterns in the market. No? That will greatly lessen the trades that you get, no? So kumbaga kukunti yung opportunities natin, but at the same time, the quality of your trades would also be better. All right? And better quality trades is better than having a lot of trades na sablay. All right? So I guess that's pretty much it. Are there any questions before we end our session tonight? So yeah, hopefully that was helpful for everyone. And yeah, thank you everyone.